Well, it's time to start framing up this wall and making some decisions on where the windows and stuff are going to be, how high they're going to be. I've got blocks here to represent where the final height of the floor will be, and then where I want the windows to come up, basically in the line of vision here. And I don't want them to interfere with a workbench. I don't want my windows sill to be below a bench that I put up against the wall, because that wouldn't work well. So just trying to finalize my position and placement of the windows on this wall. And I've got a little a little drawing here. Let me show you. So having a little scale mock-up like this really is nice. It allows you to move your windows around without driving any nails, and gives you an actual visual image of it without trying to just simply see it in your mind as to what it would look like. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about doing, is a setup similar to this. This wall will be framed in sections. Two large ones will be framed, windows will be framed in first, and then we'll build the other sections to suit, or to fit. So it's a pretty neat way to get a good idea of what it's going to look like when it's finished. That cut it good.
If that's how it's gonna go, that's. That was a lot less mess than I expected.
Still square on those two bottoms? Should be.
Perfect.
Wood running right there.
Isn't that how it always is, Steve?
It is how it is. So there's a look at the header that goes over, well, one of two headers just like this that will go over the large windows. That's 3 2x12s. and a 3/4 inch piece of plywood sandwiched, all glued and screwed together, is more than capable enough to handle a span like that. That should work really good.
Yeah. As long as the crown's going the same direction, you're actually going to take that off. This one's a real nice one. You know you got a good old truck when you've got tossing 2x6 on the hood. That's a good old truck.
Yeah, you heard it. Not at all.
Just
enough.
looks like a beam to me.
And it's not going anywhere.
It is not. It's camera shy. Would it be great if it was right where it was split? Nope. But it's okay. We have a saw.
So there's going to be a large window in this section of wall, and to avoid having a whole bunch of small cripples below the window, just 2x4s on end that extend from the bottom of the window seal to the bottom plate, we decided to build this small wall. Allowed us to insulate it, not have to cut all those little cripples, and in the end, in my opinion, it's probably a as strong or stronger way to achieve the same thing. It worked out really well, actually. So we're trying to minimize as much waste as possible. This plywood gets pretty pricey pretty quick. I believe the sheet of 5/8 plywood's around $25 if I remember correctly. It's a 4x8 sheet, or what is that, 1¼ meter by 2½ meter. So Elizabeth wanted to pull the nails out of this, and we ended up using it on another piece because that's probably a $5 bill US laying there.
Somebody really likes nails.
Looks good.
Yep.
Smashed your guts out if it fell on you.
Oh yeah.
Did it give up?
Oh. Oh.
Yeah, you about got your ankle removed.
Wood pile there when she
Yeah.
came up for me?
Yeah.
Did you film that, by the way?
I don't know.
God, I hope not.
Oh, up on-
I was just being
Oh
stupid.
yeah, I did film that.
Oh yeah, everybody's gonna see
Discretion
that.
is better
Did
part
you
of
film?
honor, Steve.
I did actually.
Right, Steve?
Yeah, we'll put that on video.
Discretion is the better part of honor.
I'm gonna send it through Funniest Video.
God, I don't be choosing
No, you're buying this out.
I did this on purpose, you fools.
No,
No,
we
you-
really
Oh, there'll be some if it you know if you did there'd be some people like, is he really that brave?
I'll be like, yes, he is.
Be like, yes, he is. Thanks for asking.
Look at the back of my leg. You can see why. Yeah.
Wait just a second. Let me come a little more, Hank. Alright. Now you need to push it this way.
Oh, you are. You're holding it up and pushing it.
Okay, everybody stop.
All right. We're about ready to.
Anything on this side, please. Yep.
Question?
Yep, push it.
All right.
Yeah, hold on.
We enough?
We're gonna have to go.
Now I'm gonna have to lift up on this end and y'all push.
We're about ready to drop. There. That's all I care about. Ready, Steve? I'm putting on my one. You just make sure it doesn't tip. All right. Back to sliding again. Stop for 1 second to see how far.
Al takes off just like
Where's
a
Steve?
Corvette.
Are we going?
Hold on to it.
Is it this one?
We'll have to measure it. We'll see. Get on. Yeah, in order to be braced, it's gonna have to go down about.
Well, it can be cockeyed a little bit. I mean,
No, it's not gonna
If it's not perfect, it's not doable.
But what are we missing, Steve?
Nothing yet.
Safety strap.
Well, I mean,
Nothing's gonna break.
nothing's breaking.
We're very confident.
Alright, so now I gotta get some blocks for the top.
Hurry up. Well, it's holding up the whole roof.
That's it. Those are holding up actually about everything right now. But, you know, it'll have to be jacked back up to get the other sections in, but still,
Right. Well, yeah, but you.
just a test, right?
Absolutely. If this, I mean, considering the weight of the roof and the stuff in the roof, if this collapsed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rah.
Very nice. So I've still got a lot of lumber to cut, and I'm struggling with this saw. The blade's just so dull on it that I'm having to put an unreal amount of pressure to get this thing to cut, and really it's just tearing through the wood. So I picked up a new blade, cheapest one that our hardware store had, but I know it's better than the one that's on it. So I want to do a comparison. Let's change from old dull to new sharp. You know, see what kind of difference it makes, because I've got a lot of work to do with this thing, and right now just a pain to use. Let's change out the blade, or let's make a cut with it. Look at it. Change out the blade and make a cut with it. Oh, that hit me right in the face. So, I've never changed the blade on one of these, but wait, take out these two. Well, take this one first. Is that going to spring around? No. Alright, I'll stick this thing back together and we'll try it. Man, they surely could have come up with something better than that. Come on. Should I have took that off? Why is that not working? Finally. Get off me. Mosquitoes are wearing me out. There, finally. Okay, it's the same piece of wood. The finish don't look too different, but the pressure's crazy different. So both of my walls that will accept my large windows are finished. Got to make the header beams up for the other 3 sections of walls that I need to build. The windows are much smaller in those sections and will require a much, a smaller header beam, not much, but smaller anyway. This one made out of 2x12s, 3 2x12s glued and screwed together, and a 3/4 inch sheet of plywood to make up the thickness difference. If you're not familiar with what a header beam does, this is a pretty big one. What it does is takes the load from the studs, which would normally press straight down into the seal plate. They press down onto the beam, it transfers around down to the king stud, and then goes down into the header plate, transferring the load around the window instead of through it. Obviously those windows couldn't handle the load of this roof, but this can. So got to make up the other 3 headers and then move on to the next step. So obviously if you watched the last couple videos that I've done, you're aware of the big glass that I'm going to be putting in the large sections of wall that are done. But in the other 3 sections of wall, because you couldn't build this wall all in one and set it up. It's 40 feet long. You could frame it up, but that's not easy either. So I choose to frame them down on the ground where it's easy to do, slide them over, and pick them up and put them in place. Just seems like the easiest way, in my opinion. Now these are Anderson windows and doors, who the manufacturer is. I've got 2 matching windows that will go in each end, and then this larger one that will go right in the center. And now I'm going to build the header for this larger one, because I might as well. So as far as header beams on the smaller windows, I'm going to be going with 2x8s. 3 2x8s glued together and a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood, glued, screwed, and nailed. These things aren't going anywhere. Obviously, like on the larger windows, the bigger the span, the heavier duty your header beam would have to be to support the load that's going to be put on it. But more than capable, what I'm doing here, of handling anything that I'm going to see in my area, in my climate. It's all dependent. There's a lot of factors there, but this should be more than good enough for my needs. What are you doing, little guy? So like I mentioned last week, little Walnut the squirrel had injured his right front leg somehow. He was gone for 9 days straight and had lost a lot of weight. I just assumed he got back in the woods and hurt himself somehow and then hid in order to not be eaten by some other critter. But me and Elizabeth took him in for a few days, doctored him up to where, to the point to where he was using his leg pretty much all the time, and he slept for 2 days straight, this little squirrel, in a lunchbox, a little soft lunchbox. He was exhausted, but he's back to his old self and out in the woods enjoying his little life right now. Jump, you can do it.
Hopefully he doesn't, repeat the same mistakes again. We sure would miss him if something happened to him. He's quite the friendly little squirrel.
You want to fight? Yeah. I didn't get it on camera, but the little Walnut just come in here and inspected my walls. I think they passed. He wasn't really impressed. So a quick comparison that I've noticed anyway between the liquid nails and then the Loctite PL Premium, both construction adhesives. I kind of like this PL Premium better. Just seems to come out more liquid, not quite as thick as the liquid nails, and it doesn't dry quite as fast, which is a benefit. Well, it would have been a big benefit to me putting that trim on, because I kind of fought with that. This stuff flashes over pretty quick, develops a thick skin on it, where this stays a little workable longer, in my opinion. I don't know about the strength difference in the two, but I'm sure they're somewhat comparable. It's a non-construction guy's opinion. So both my pulleys come in, nice heavy cast pulleys. I am really interested to try this thing out and see what kind of difference it makes. I mean, it has to. These things are warped, and you know that transmits into the cut. So I'm going to change these out and see if I can tell the difference. So I picked these pulleys up off Amazon. I think I paid $7 a piece for them, shipped to my door, believe it or not. Cast iron, got some gravity to it. I noticed that some sellers were selling pulleys exactly like this one, cast zinc or aluminum, one or the other. And they were like $1 cheaper than something like this, which is much more substantial. Just the flange thickness, everything, just all around better pulleys. Much rather have these. So I had viewers suggest that I could potentially flip the rotor inside of this motor. If this shaft is damaged too much, it may have a matching shaft coming out the other side. Just a universal motor that come on these saws and probably a lot of equipment like this. I haven't investigated that to see if there's an actual shaft under there, but there probably is, as soon as they put that cover on there. But if this one's not bent, which it doesn't appear to be, at least not much anyway, I may just run it like this. We'll see. But you know, if I need to flip it, that's a good option to have. So I got both pulleys on, tightened the one on the actual blade itself, and I'm just trying to align it with the one on the motor, because this bracket can account for belt tension, but it doesn't slide side to side and self-align as far as the belt, although it does have some in-play in the motor shaft. So as long as it's really close, it should be good to go. So I'm going to do a quick test run. Oh man, it's a night and day difference, those warped pulleys. I noticed when I was cutting my trim for the windows that, you know, cutting real slow, that the blade would go through this harmonic stage and it would make my cut, you know, not straight. Hopefully this will help. That's a big guy there. Praying mantis. Huh. Wanna fight, bro? So these two walls are setting up on the sill plate, but they're not in their final position. They're really close, but I need to fine adjust them just a little bit. So I need to scoot both of these walls in a little bit. They're just setting up here. They're blocked where they can't fall out or they can't fall in, and I temporarily got the roof weight setting on them. So I'm going to lift the roof up, pull these walls where they need to be. That way I can work out my final dimension on the center here, and then I'll work and build the ends custom. So there's very few things you can't move with a few ratchet straps and a come along. I need to move this wall in. I've got the center of my building, or the center of this opening marked here, which is the center of the building. I've got a 4-foot straight edge here, and as soon as the edge of this straight edge gets on my line, I'm good to go. Then I'll do the same thing, set the roof back down on this one, and then pull this one over. You know, the roof flexes a little, so this works. I'm so close, within a 1/4 inch. I've just got some pressure on it. If I put a full pull on it, it'll just stick slip, so. Oh man, that's working good. There we go. That's got it. So without changing the setup at all, I just set the roof back down on this one, jacked it up off of this one, and now I'm going to move this one to its point. So lift this gap a little shy. That way, when I put my wall in there, you know, and connect these all together, I can pull it in tight, get a good, you know, joining between the two. So this lumber is considered Premium Select. I question who selected them, to be honest. Not great wood. It's okay, it's fine for framing, but that's about it. And I wouldn't want to have to drive those all day. 16s, I've seen some people drive them in one blow. That is not going anywhere. So let's scoot that back. Grab that in and just scoot it back. That's good right there. It's all right, I got to center, I got to get my measurements right on the plate. So wall number 3 of 5 is done other than sheeting, and obviously I still have to hang it. Looking pretty good, and I'm getting progressively better at this as we go along. There's nothing really hard about it, obviously, it's just framing, but there are techniques that you need to use in order to make sure that they are square and that they remain square from the deck that you build them on, floor, to, you know, lifting them or hanging them. Me and Al really went to school on this first one. We squared it really well. Well, dimensionally it's correct, but we didn't sheet it or brace it when we stood it up and put it in place, and it got just a little out of square. So, well, probably an inch or better out of square. So we had to pull on it and adjust it. It was a learning experience that I didn't want to repeat, nor did he. So it's nothing that can't be fixed, but you get the idea. It was just extra work that wasn't necessary, that could have been avoided with the proper technique, building technique. So this one is square at the moment. Yeah, I've checked it multiple times, and I'm about to sheet it and move it into position. But it looks pretty good, I think, and it's getting easier. Obviously, it would. I got to build another one exactly like this one, and then the center wall, and I'll be done framing, which is good. Now, my buddy Al, he obviously had to go back to take care of business, but he did leave me a bag of tools. The guy's got a problem when it comes to tools, like many of us do. Let me show you what he left me to work with, and we'll frame this thing up, or frame it up. We'll sheet this thing. So my buddy Al left this bag with all of his air nailers here for me to use. He's going to come back and pick these up, obviously, but it was really nice of him to leave these. 2 SLS 15 Senko finish nailers. I guess that's one for each hand. He's serious when it comes to tools. Here's a larger finish nailer, along with a small Porter cable staple driver, and then a pass load framing nailer that I've been using primarily to stud this thing together, along with the smaller nails that I've been using to drive the sheeting on. This nailer will run both, which is really nice. That's a quality nailer, at least it seems like that to me. So thank you, Al. I really appreciate that. He left a bunch of other stuff as well that we'll go over in the future, but that was nice of him to let me use this stuff. I planned on hand nailing this stuff together, seeing as this is just one job, right? It's not that big a deal, but this definitely speeds up the process and makes it a lot easier. So I'm looking down this wall, making sure that it's not torqued in any way before I sheet it. I'm checking it for square. This is my final check before I do that, because once that sheeting's on there, it's really pretty much locked wherever it's going to be. And that is 125 3/4 from those two corners, and it should be the same, or at least really close between these two corners. And then obviously check your window opening if you have one for square as well. That's just as important really as this, because you have to have the proper clearance around your window, or else you have some big problems. So looks good to me. I already know this is good, so I'm gonna sheet this thing up. You like that? Yeah. Vanna White.
Here you go.
Looks good.
Yeah.
It'll look a lot better once it's really in there. But fits good. Plenty of room up and down. There we go. That wall is done. So I think that looks pretty good, if I do say so myself. Still a ways from being done. Obviously I have to frame up the 2 last sections of this wall, insulate and sheet the inside, and then figure out what I'm going to do as far as an outside sheeting. I don't know. There's just a lot of options there, and I'm not for sure on what I want the outside of this building to look like. Obviously I have to hang the windows as well, but it's not that big a deal. So Huge thanks to my buddy Al. Man, he drove probably 12, 14 hours to get here just to help me on this project, which says a lot right there, that a guy would, go through that just to help somebody. He's obviously a nice guy, so I appreciate that very much. And I also appreciate anybody who's helped me on this project. It says a lot about the people who watch your videos and leave comments every week. I always enjoy reading through those and seem to learn something every week. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Send me an email if you need anything. Click on my little guy to subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up if you enjoyed the videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.